was possibly the worst display of racing I have ever seen in 30 plus years of being a NASCAR fan. They should have named it the Busch Crash. But tonight we will break down the Busch Crash and all the horse crappery that goes along with it. Plus, we are going to preview the Truck Series, the Xfinity Series, and the Cup Series, all in Daytona for their season openers. Welcome back to the C&J Speedway Review. My name is Chris Burns, the one and only jabroni, the redneck Adonis. And across the screen from me is, he's got smiling Grayson. He loves his face, but if you give him a Jolly Rancher, the producer will stab him in the eye with a hot poker. It's Corey Huffnagel. Corey, I got to ask you, because before we went hot, you asked me my opinion, and we may as well just dive right in now. No news, no notes. We'll get to that secondary. What did you think of the Busch Crash 2020?
Well, I gotta tell you what, even though that this was a given exhibition race from what I saw on Sunday, it looked as if, the racing was kind of hard, like right at the end. But I will say this, though, I thought the racing was exciting. I want to say like the first 60 laps of the race. And then once it came down to pretty much, caution after caution after, it was basically, all right, so now it's just going to be a wreck fest. And then once the last one came out, I thought, maybe we should have one car finish the race, and then that auto way we already know who the winner is. And actually what was kind of funny was before the first caution came out, it looked as if it was going to be a fuel mileage race, and I thought, oh, okay, so let's just see how many guys can save gas, because I've never, and honestly, in the whole history of the Busch Crash or the Busch Clash, whatever you call it, I've never seen a race where, guys had to conserve on fuel. So pretty much, with all the drafting and all the tandeming and all that stuff, it was just basically, at first it was going to be conservative. And then once it came down to 10 to go, that's when everybody went for it. So, I mean, I will say this, I was impressed with the racing, but then yet again, the cautions, I thought it was just ridiculous. But hey, all I could just say is, who would have ever thought that Erik Jones wanted a damaged race car?
Nobody. And that's part of the problem. Going back to what you were talking about, like you said, the racing was good. I thought the aero package, those cars were staying together. If you got out of line, you watch guys like Hamlin and Harvick lose the line, drop to the back. They catch the secondary draft. They move, they shake, they get back up to the front. With the competition yellow at lap 25 and then your fuel window being only 45 to 48 laps, they did have to work some strategy, and they all did it really well. Then came, we could go over all day long, and we don't want to because we'd love to get to previewing this weekend's race. Mm-hmm. Once it got to be lap 47, 48, you had the dust up between Logano and Kyle Busch. Guys, once again, there's the hashtag FKB. I don't put the blame on either driver. One's trying to take the position, the other's trying to hold the position. So when Logano gets a little squirrely and he bumps into Busch and Busch gets a little squirrely, it looked to me, and again, this is all opinion. I said it last night in my vulgarity-laced rant on the Loki and Jabroni show. It looked to me as if Kyle Busch, knowing this is an exhibition race, knowing they're all running their third backup car or their second backup car out of three complete cars, took a hard right and took out Logano, which in turn took out two more cars. After that, it all became a cluster F of mythical proportions. Restart one. Ryan Newman spins tires, takes out a couple more cars. Another restart. William Byron spins tires, takes out a whole bunch more cars. Then, in their 62 attempts at overtime, you had Chase Elliott get into some trouble. You had this guy get into some trouble. Not one race car finished that race unscathed. I originally thought, because I listened to the finish of the race on MRN, the voice of NASCAR, I thought to myself, okay, Erik Jones must have the least damaged car to have finished that race as high as he did. I did not see what Erik Jones's car looked like until we watched that low light reel at the studio last night. It was just a hunk of junk. And Mike Joy is 1,000% correct. He wins the race on a car that looks like it should be taken to the dumpster right now.
Right. Exactly.
So, in my opinion, I love the fact that it's renamed the Busch Clash. I love the fact that they, the competition caution on a fresh racetrack. I think that breaks up the monotony. gives each team a little more strategy to play. But I said it last night. You said it earlier. It's an exhibition race. And if you're running that race like you're running the Daytona 500, you're doing something wrong. That race has always been, for the race winners, the pole winners, and past champions, it's kind of a little gift from NASCAR. Here's some extra track time. We're going to sell tickets. We're going to bring the fans in. They see 20 of the best. Go at it for a cash prize. Fantastic. Run it like an exhibition. You never saw Earnhardt or Wallace or Gant or Gordon or Jimmy Johnson ever run like these morons ran this weekend. I felt bad for guys like Hamlin and Harvick and Truex, guys that were running that race to the best of their ability, getting caught up in somebody else's BS.
Right. And then, of course, you have Brad Keselowski, who was vocal about, guys that were throwing aggressive blocks and whatever it is. And to be honest, I think he was right from what he said, because let's face it, the one where you had between Kyle Busch and Joey Logano, you could pretty much see that, Logano was moving up to block Kyle Busch. And the next thing you know, Logano tried to come down. And then that just pretty much causes the big wreck, which that takes out Keselowski. And that's where basically Keselowski was upset with his teammates, saying, okay, you threw an aggressive block, which it was going to be stupid, and, it wasn't going to work. And that's what basically happened. What I mentioned on Sunday, I kind of thought to myself, all right, imagine the blocking that we're going to see in the Daytona 500 on Sunday. Like, let's say we go to the last lap, and the guy's running in second. Do you think that guy is going to run in second the whole entire lap? No. By the time he gets to the turn 4, he's going to make that move, quite possibly, take the air off his spoiler, or better yet, just move him up the racetrack or something. Because let's face it, the Busch Clash, that was an exhibition race. So that doesn't even matter. It was no points. You just basically go for the cash money whatsoever. The Daytona 500, that's the season opener, and that's just pretty much, you win a race, you're in the playoffs in September, whatever it is, and so forth. But again, what we saw on Sunday was 18 cars. Now we go to Sunday, it's going to be 40 cars. So now we're just doubling up the field, which pretty much, we might see maybe the big wreck. We might see what happened on Sunday. You never know. But I will just say this. I will bet you that the guys that weren't racing in the Busch Clash, they watched that race and they thought, all right, we better not do this during the 500, or we better not do this during the dual race tomorrow, because if we end up doing this, then, it's just going to be a crappy weekend, on both ends.
Oh, yeah. And, to be completely honest, the Daytona 500 is a completely different animal. Like you've said, it's the Super Bowl of racing. It's the first race of the year, but it's the biggest racing event of the year. Every race has a winner. The Daytona 500 winner is the Daytona champion.
Yeah.
When you get those little gimmicks, you get your shirt and you get your hat. When your guy wins a race, hey, Joey Logano wins at Michigan. It says winner. When you get that T-shirt of the Daytona 500 winner, it says Daytona 500 champion, 2000 whatever, 1990 whatever. It always says champion, and that's a big deal. You look at the list of Hall of Famers that have won that race, and a list of also-rans who have won that race. It's pretty tilted in the Hall of Fame direction, and there are Hall of Famers that never won the Daytona 500, but have won the Busch Clash, the Bud Shootout, the duels, the summer race, now the late summer race. It's a place where everybody, if you've ever gotten into a stock car, dreams about going to. So I don't know if anybody from NASCAR listens to this, but if you do, you need to tell these boys. And in a few years, we're going to talk about this young lady in a few minutes, but in a few years, I'd like to see Hailie Deegan out there running the Daytona 500.
Yeah.
You tell these drivers, look, you want to end up a greasy spot on a country road, keep doing what you're doing. You want to be a champion, learn to freaking drive.
Right. Exactly.
That's all I've got to say about that.
And one thing I really want to see the Busch Clash, in the next few years. I really wish the Busch Clash would run it at night again, because, I really liked when it was at night. I mean, running it in the day, it's, it's good and all that stuff, but, like what Larry McReynolds says, nighttime is the right time. So I really think, the Busch Clash should be run at night, and I really think they should just be, I don't know, if it was on a Sunday night, I'm okay with it, but Saturday night, would be better.
Yeah, I'll agree. I think so.
Yeah.
But hey, we got what we asked for. We got the Busch Clash back, and unfortunately, the first attempt was the worst attempt. So yeah. I know you want to talk about Hailie Deegan, I know you want to talk about the ARCA race and Michael Self coming home with the victory. Watched a replay of it on my little Roku Fox Sports gimmick, and
Yep.
both of them looked great. I don't think Hailie had enough at the end, unfortunately, and it proved that. But I don't think she was going to catch him.
No, I mean, like, I was watching the race on Saturday. The racing, was okay, but, like, the drafting, could have been a little bit better because, with the ARCA cars, they're a lot different, than what the trucks, Xfinity, and the Cup cars are, but everything. But I will say this, our good friend, hopefully he'll be on our show soon. Andy Seiss ended up starting the race in second, but unfortunately he ended up spinning out on the first lap on the backstretch, which of course, he was going to have a run on the inside, but then of course the guy on the inside was a lot quicker. So yeah, don't worry, folks. Seiss will be coming on our show soon. I don't know when. I have to talk to a friend of mine who is cousins of him, which honestly to this day I don't really know it. But anyway, so congratulations to Michael Self. He ended up winning the ARCA race at Daytona with Hailie Deegan coming in second. And not only that, we also had the ARCA Menard Series East open up on Monday night at New Smyrna Speedway, which was won by none other than Sam Mayer himself. So Sam Mayer is going to be defending his championship this year and taking Monday night at New Smyrna. So now the E-Series is off to Five Flag Speedway in Florida. I want to say where that is and so forth.
Okay.
And next up, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think next Thursday, the ARCA Menard Series West starts up their season opener at the Bull Ring in Las Vegas. So I got to tell you what, I'm excited for this ARCA Menard Series this year. I'm excited for the East and West Series, and I'm really excited to see how this is all going to play out this year.
It's good for all three of those lower tier series to be involved. Obviously, the K&N East and West have long been involved with the NASCAR umbrella, but having ARCA come on board and having NASCAR give them their support and giving them a new audience, really, that may not have ever seen an ARCA race before, that's good for them. You're going to see a lot of these youngins that come up through ARCA. ARCA used to be you were either the youngest of the young or you're on your way out just trying to collect a few more victories, a few more paydays. You're going to see a lot of these young guns start weaving their way through from ARCA, from East and West. They're going to go to the trucks. They're going to go to the Xfinity, and hopefully they'll bring them up slowly to the Cup Series. We don't want to see, hey, here's the 18-year-old wunderkind from Las Vegas, Nevada, and see him wreck a bunch of cars right away. That's not cool, and nobody wants that. I wish all of these guys, even Kyle Busch, and I'll break it up, I've wished Kyle Busch success from day one. I just wish he toned down that petulant child attitude. And and going back to that point, I'm sorry if I'm rambling, but to go back to listening to both Logano and Kyle Busch cry the blues after that, you're both at fault. I've watched the video a dozen times. I watched it again last night. I watched it again earlier today just to come on here with the straight shoot and say, you guys acted like a couple of babies fighting over the blue popsicle. Yeah. Not everybody gets the blue popsicle. Sometimes you got to have the red popsicle. Get over it.
It's true.
All right. So now that we've gotten through that, got the duels tomorrow night. I will be home just in time to see the races. It's going to be great. I believe coverage starts at 7 o'clock. With flag time at 7:28. Corey, tell them when, where, how, why they can see the duel races.
All right, so you can catch the duel races 7 o'clock in Eastern Time on FS1. And then, of course, you can stream it live on SiriusXM Satellite Radio, Channel 90, which, of course, you will have the Motor Racing Network.
The voice of NASCAR.
All right.
So, if you guys are not familiar with the duel races, first of all, thank you for watching the show. Second of all, why haven't you done your homework? The duel races on Thursday night in Daytona are to set positions 3 through 40. The first race will set the odd numbers. The second race will set the even numbers. Now, here's where things get fishy. In the event that your pole sitter, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., or your outside pole sitter, Alex Bowman, decide to run this race, they'll get positioned into one of those races, and now it becomes this mad cluster where the announcers will tell you, okay, well, since, since Bowman's up here, this knocks this guy to fifth, or if somebody in the other race finishes here, and here's the transfer spot. If you're going to watch these races, listen to what they're saying. They're going to give you a wealth of information and education about these qualifying races. And again, it's the only race on the circuit all year that qualifies like this, and it makes it more exciting. Speed weeks are two of the most exciting weeks on the racing schedule. Every year, it's like Christmas, Halloween, birthday. It's everything. If you're a race fan, these 2 weeks, you get so much racing jammed into 14 days, your head explodes. It's so awesome.
It is. And we also want to claim this one. So basically, also, Justin Haley and Brendan Gaughan, they're in the 500 based on their qualifying speeds. So that pretty much leaves Daniel Suarez and then all these other guys that have to race their way in. So guys like Suarez, Chad Fitcham, Reed Sorensen, and J.J. Yaley are the guys that have to make their way into the 500. So I will say this, and this is my prediction. I think Daniel Suarez is most likely to make it in. Everybody else, it's just basically going to be a free-for-all.
Okay, and I do want to explain one thing. Brand new listener, Chris Johnson, asked me the question earlier today. Did Kyle Busch make it in? I said, well, yeah, he's in on speed, but his qualifying will be set by the duels. And here's the thing, guys. Corey just mentioned 4 guys that have to race their way in. They have nothing else to fall back on. Not the speed, not position from last year, anything. They just didn't have the oomph when it came to qualifying last week. So if you're a guy like Kyle Busch with the Joe Gibbs Racing motor underneath you, he's not in fear of losing his spot to a Sorensen or to a J.J. Yaley. The people that have to worry are some that are lower on the list.
Right.
We'll see. We will certainly see who is in and who is out, and there's always a disappointment. You're going to see an interview either in Duel 1 or Duel 2 where a guy just was that one spot away. He had to finish 18th or better, and he finishes 19th. Well, you're going home. Pack up the hauler. It sucks. But you know what? It's the most competitive qualifying on the circuit all year round.
I remember, what was it? There was at one time, we had like 70 cars that qualified, and then there were like a bunch of cars that, had to race their way into the duels and stuff. Those were the good old days. And then I think there was one time, I think it was only 40 cars that just qualified, and, none had to go home. So, but I kind of missed that. I missed the point where, when you had 70 cars that qualified and everybody else has to race their way in. I missed that. But but now that we have 3 guys that have to, 3 or 4 guys that have to race their way in, I think it's going to be exciting. Like I said, I think Suarez will most likely make it in, no doubt about it. And one thing I also want to point out for anybody that hasn't watched the duels, as long as the pole sitter nor the second place guy wreck their primary car, they should be good.
Exactly. And on top of that, going back, I want to say about 15, 20 years ago, it wasn't quite 70. I know there was one year where 70 cars, sent their paperwork in and tried to qualify for this race, and you send a whole bunch of dudes home. At that point, I think it was like 27 cars went home. Yeah. A few years ago, they really cut that out, and it became, we have 55 spots. We have a 43 car field. 12 of you are going to be packing up your gear and going home today on Thursday. Right. That was exciting because a lot of times what sucked about that, and this is just a year or two before they really took away that champion provisional.
Right.
Darrell Waltrip in the tail end of his career just made every race by going, here's my champion provisional. I'm in.
Yeah.
I'm in. You can't do anything about it. Then you limit the provisionals. Well, those are the 6 times you have to use them. Here, throwing out a provisional. I'm in. Doesn't matter. You can't do anything about it. So I think a lot of that has deterred some of the older past champions who maybe like a Terry Labonte or Bobby Labonte, or even, if Jeff Gordon wanted to get out and do one race and he wanted to do the Daytona 500, if he wanted to, he could, but without that champion provisional, he has to find a really good, solid race car and wheel it into the field. He can't go, hey, champion provisional, got to go. Nothing you can do about it.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes the race exciting. It makes the race fun. We're not going to do picks on the duels because really, does it matter if they win? No, they just get a really good spot.
Exactly.
if you could be so kind as to let these fine folks know who is in race 1 and who is in race 2.
All right, so let me take a look at that right about now. So let's see. I'm going to say race number 1. You have Ricky Stenhouse Jr. That's going to start on the pole for the first race, and then you have guys like Chase Elliott. You have Denny Hamlin, Eric Almirola, Christopher Bell, who starts in the top 5. You have Joey Logano, Clint Boyer, Ryan Newman, Ryan Preece, and Chris Buescher, who rounds out the top 10. So if you think about it, you got, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. You have 6 Chevrolet, actually 7 Chevrolets in this field, and then you have mostly Fords in the field, and pretty much you have 3 Toyotas that are going to be in race 1. So I got to tell you one thing. I think race 1, may be an advantage to the Fords and the Chevys. The way I kind of look at it, I mean, even if the Toyotas, they work together with pretty much Truex, Hamlin, and Christopher Bell, I think it'd be exciting. But, all in all, I think this one could be pretty interesting, no doubt about it.
Okay. And I'm excited for both these races, but I'm more excited for race number 2.
All right. So let me just pop that up. I'm trying to find it. Let's see. Okay. I swear, I just had it like somewhere. It's like literally like it's like literally deep in the archives somewhere. So.
Don't worry about it then. You guys.
All right.
You got it. Okay.
Yep. All right. So race number 2, you have Alex Bowman and Jimmy Johnson that start on the front row. You have Kyle Busch. You have William Byron, Erik Jones, Kevin Harvick, Cole Custer, Matt DiBenedetto, Tyler Reddick, and Kyle Larson, who starts in 10th. So basically, race number 2, it's pretty much, all 3 of the Hendrick guys that, may work together. And then, of course, you got a couple of the Fords in there. You got some of the Chevrolets, and, obviously, of course, you got Ross Chastain, who's going to be racing in the 500, and then Tyler Reddick, of course. So I think race number 2, may be a little bit of a cakewalk for Bowman, but I don't know. Like I said, in these dual races, you just never know what's going to happen.
Right, and if I'm not mistaken, I believe you said it a couple weeks ago, this week and this week only, Chastain is pulling triple duty, running the trucks, the Xfinity, and the Cup Series race this weekend.
Correct.
Now, Chastain has to race his way in, or is he in on time for the 500?
I think he's in on time because I know Spire Motorsports, I think they're a charter team if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah, I want to say he's in on time.
Okay. That makes things a little bit easier when we come to our favorite portion of the show. But having said that, now we move past that. This is where we're going to tell you the ins and the outs. And this is, guys, we decided we're changing the format a little bit. But for this race and this race only, we are going to give you full breakdowns like we've done in years past for this race, including entry list. And we can, if Corey wants to wax philosophically about why he thinks someone's going to win the truck race, he can do it. But starting next week, it's going to be bang, 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 right down the line. But we already did the Daytona 500 odds last week, so we don't need to do odds this week.
Okay.
Unless they change somehow.
Right, unless they change. But, I'm kind of thinking, maybe we could still do the lock, sleeper, and hopeful.
Of course, dude. New year, new notebook for the points, new notebook. And by the way, I was debating this, and I'll tell you this now. Generally, I wait about 5-10 races before I get me some new gear, but I'm going to the Italian restaurant on Sunday, man. Casa del Corey, the Huffnagel Mansion, right there in Peabody, Massachusetts. New year, new gear, my friend. I am showing up fresh as a summer breeze with brand new gear.
There you go.
Because I'm coming up to the home of Bunghole Liquors, Peabody, Massachusetts.
There you go.
All right, so where are the trucks running on Friday, my friend? Daytona.
All right. Yes. Race 1 year 2020 for the Gander RV and Outdoors Truck Series this year. So now it's called the Gander RV and Outdoor Truck Series for 2020. So
I'm telling you, dude, every time the trucks turn around, they make the names longer and longer and longer.
Yeah.
And in a few weeks, Corey's going to tell us about the Fight for Autism, sponsored by Blind Kids, co-sponsored by Girl Scout Cookies 500, featuring O'Reilly Auto Parts and the kid that sells donuts.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Stop it, Truck Series. Stop it.
All right, so you got the Gander RV and Outdoors Truck Series race at Daytona Friday night on Valentine's Day, 7:30 Eastern Time on FS1. You can stream it live on SiriusXM Satellite Radio, Channel 90, which of course you will have the Motor Racing Network.
The voice of NASCAR.
All right, this is my old-time favorite. This is one part of the show that I love the most, entry list time. So now I'm going to read off the list of names. Some of them are going to be newbies, and then some are pretty much going to be, the same old guys that were from racing last year. But here we go. Anyway, so we got Angela Ruck, who's going to be driving the 00 truck for Friday night. You have Sheldon Creed, who's going to be driving the 2 truck this year. You have Jordan Anderson in the 3 truck. You have Rafael Lessard, one of the rookie contenders this year, driving for Kyle Busch Motorsports in the 4. You have the legend Norm Betting. You have John Hunter Nemechek, who, of course, will be pulling double duty this weekend, from what I understand. Let's see. You have Jennifer Jo Cobb in the 10 truck. You have Johnny Sauter, who won a race a year ago, driving the 13 truck for Thorough Sport Racing. Then you have Tanner Gray, who's going to be another rookie contender this year, driving the 15 truck. I want to say this is for Nice Motorsports, if I'm not mistaken. I'd probably say this is Nice Motorsports, if I'm not mistaken. But anyways, then you have last year's winner, Austin Hill. You have Christian Eckes, again, another rookie contender in the truck series. And then also another one that's exciting, you also have Derek Krause, who will be another rookie contender driving the 19 truck. You have Talladega winner Spencer Boyd. You have, you have Zane Smith, another rookie contender this year. You have Austin Wayne Self. You have Brett Moffitt. You have the new GMS driver, Tyler Ankrum. Then you have Brendan Poole in the 30 truck. You have Jason White in the 33. Todd Gilliland's new ride for Front Row Motorsports this year in the 38 truck. You have Ross Chastain. You have Natalie Decker, the newest addition for the Nice Motorsports Truck Series. Then you have another rookie contender, Ty Majeski, in the 45 truck. You have Riley Herbst, who's going to be in the 51. You have Stuart Friesen in the 52. Then you have Gus Steed in the 56, Joe Nemechek in the 87, who was good at the super speedways. You have last year's champion, Matt Crafton. You have Jesse Little, Grant Infinger, and last but not least, Ben Rhodes in the 99.
Okay, you clipped out for about 3 seconds there. Got a little choppy. I did not hear, and maybe he was mentioned while you were choppy, whatever. I didn't hear Sheldon Creed.
Sheldon Creed is in the 2 truck.
Thank you. Okay.
Yep.
Why don't you start us off? Your picks, lock and sleeper, for the first race of the year.
Alrighty, so I was looking at the entry list this week, and I thought to myself, Daytona, you just never know what's going to happen with the truck series. I mean, last year we saw a couple big wrecks that took out some really big contenders. And then, of course, we saw Talladega last year with the whole controversy of the yellow line rule, which I didn't really know, how that was going to work out. Well, I didn't even know that was a rule, but this one was kind of easy and simple. So my lock, I'm going to go with last year's winner, Austin Hill. He ran a good race last year. And again, this team won 4 races a year ago, could have went to the championship 4, couldn't capitalize in Phoenix last year. So I think this is a team that's going to be fun to watch this year. You look at Austin Hill, after he won the first race, he kind of fell off the map for a little while. Then he ends up winning 3 more races after that. So, and again, with Daytona, you just have to be there at the right time. And I think with Austin Hill, I think this will be the kid that, that'll be there at the end and hopefully will take home the win. Now, my sleeper, I'm going to go with a homer on this one. So I was going to pick some of these guys, that were going to be capable enough to win it, but I'm going to pull a surprise on this one. So my sleeper, I'm going to go with the guy that won last year's race at Talladega, which is Spencer Boyd. I mean, just think about it. He was in the top 5, and it looked as if he was going to finish in second, but then all of a sudden, NASCAR said, guess what? You're declared the winner because Johnny Sauter forced somebody below the yellow line, which apparently that was a no-no. So, and like I said, with Daytona and Talladega, you just have to expect the unexpected. And like I said, you can see guys, that you hardly don't see around up front, they could be in the top 5, top 10. It's basically a game changer. You'll have some of the big guys, that'll lead for a little while. They'll drop to the back. And then you'll have some of the guys that are like, I don't know, let's say 20th in points or whatever, or pretty much run 25th during the race, that'll run up to the front. But like I said, you have to expect the unexpected. You just never know what's going to happen. And I think, I probably say Spencer Boyd could pull off another surprise on Friday night.
Absolutely. And I want to show you this before we go any further. When we do these picks, Corey and I have a challenge starting last year, and it's moving on to this year. I was the winner this past year, and I got this beautiful shirt, but upon first wash, I don't know if it's the company or the way it was made, it's eating itself alive. Can you see that?
Yeah.
It's eating itself alive, but it's still one of my favorite shirts, and I am going to be replacing it so I can have a nice one to wear out and about. And I don't know what happened, but it fell apart after the first wash. Just the lettering. The shirt itself is solid, but Fanatic, you got yourself a big problem if you're going to be sending out shirts like that to people who paid really good money. Having said that, moving right along, my lock this weekend, and he's going to be my lock in another race too. It's going to be Ross Chastain. Last year was a very telling year for Ross Chastain. Moving away from the trouble he had with Kevin Harvick 2 years ago in Darlington, last year declaring himself late for the Truck Series Championship, nearly coming away with it if Matt Crafton hadn't run just the race of his life to get that championship. Chastain's got a lot to prove this year, and he's my lock. My sleeper, if you listened to the show last year, nobody's surprised. It's my man Sheldon. Don't call me Apollo Creed. Why? Because I like him. That's it. Homer pick, like you said. Spencer
exactly.
Boyd. He's my Spencer Boyd.
Okay. And like I said, I could see probably Sheldon Creed winning a race here, because there was some races where, he ran good. He ran pretty consistent. But now that we have the Truck Series playoff field expanded to 10, I think, you can see some of the guys that failed to make the playoffs last year can get in this year pretty easily.
Yeah. I mean, even if they don't win a race, I don't think we're going to have 8 separate winners on the Truck Series.
No.
And unless, Kyle Busch comes in and wins 5 races because he's got nothing better to do and he's done with being a petulant baby, by the way, hashtag SKB. Just for all of you folks out there.
But I can probably say this, I think this year's Truck Series field, I think we could see some guys, that'll be capable enough to win races this year. Just think about it. Maybe we could have all 10 winners. Maybe we could have I'd say 8, probably 9. But I see some guys on the entry list. I thought, some of them can win races this year, and some of them can basically make the Truck Series playoff on points. But, I think it's going to be a good season.
If you point your way in, didn't Matt Crafton point his way in last year?
Well, he pointed his way in last year, and he won the championship consistently last year.
Exactly. He went full on. Matt Kenseth, who only had one victory in his championship year. Look it up. Not you, the listeners. You already know all this.
Right.
You probably know what color socks Matt Kenseth was wearing at the championship race.
I know what year he won the championship that season.
Well, isn't that special?
Exactly.
All right, so now we move on to Saturday and the opener for the Xfinity Series. And here to tell you all about it is Jolly Rancher Jones himself, Corey Huffnagel.
All right, so Saturday you got the Xfinity Series opener, 2:30 Eastern Time on Saturday on FS1. And then, of course, you can stream it live on the SiriusXM satellite radio, channel 90. And, of course, you can stream it on MRN, the Motor Racing Network.
The voice of T-shirts that fall apart.
Exactly.
All right. I may as well start off, and I already told you I'm going double duty with Ross Chastain as my lock. Before you even read the entry list, I'm throwing it out there. Ross Chastain is my lock.
All right.
I'm just going to make it quick. Now, let's hear that entry list for people who may not know some of these names. We got some newbies this year.
All right. So basically in the Xfinity Series, you usually see some of the Cup guys that are racing in the field. But guess what, guys? There is no Cup guys this weekend.
Yay!
But, there may be some, and I probably say with this year, you might see maybe 1 or 2 Cup drivers in Xfinity this year. That's the only thing I can guess. But having said that, I will say that Dale Jr. is going to be racing in Miami in March, so I'm excited to see that. Anyways, so looking at the entry list again, I'm going to read off some names, could be some newbies, and then pretty much the same from last year. So reading on, let's see, you got nobody's favorite BJ McLeod is going to be driving the Zero car, which, of course, he deserves to drive the Zero car.
Right, because he is, in fact, a zero.
Exactly. All right, you have last year's Daytona winner Michael Annett. You have Brett Moffitt, who's going to be driving the 02 for Our Motorsports. You have Jesse Little in the 4 car. You have, let's see, David Starr, who used to be in the Truck Series for a little while. Let's see, you have Justin Allgaier in the 7. You have Jeb Burton, who's going to be in the 8 car. You have Noah Gragson in the 9 car this year. And then reading off from what your lock was picked for this weekend, Ross Chastain in the 10 car for Colleague Racing, which of course Ross Chastain will start his Xfinity Championship drive this year. Then you have Ross's teammate Justin Hailie in the 11. You have AJ Allmendinger, who is in the 16. So basically, Colleague Racing is going to have 3 of the cars racing this weekend, what I know of. And then, of course, reading on, you have rookie contender Harrison Burton. You have Myatt Snyder, who's going to be running a part-time schedule for Richard Childress Racing in the 21. You have Austin Cindric. You have Alex LeBay. You have Jeff Green. You have Ryan Sieg, Tommy Joe Martins, Joe Nemechek in the 47 car. You have Jeremy Clements. Let's see. You have Austin Hill, who's going to be also running double duty this weekend, driving the 61 car, I should say. Let's see. Then you have Brandon Brown. You have, last but not least, Chase Briscoe in the 98 for Stewart-Haas Racing.
Okay. We already know my lock is Ross Chastain, and I would love to pick a Chase Briscoe. I would love to pick any one of these fantastic contenders, but this pick is going to be for a friend of the show, Mr. Zach Kuhn. I'm going to go with Justin Allgaier, and for no other reason than Zach probably deserves to smile right now, knowing what has gone on in his life in the last week or so.
Yeah.
So, you know what, big guy? I'm picking Justin Allgaier just for you, and if he wins, man, awesome. Congratulations.
Exactly. And like I said, he won a race last year, got him to the championship 4, and I think, Allgaier, will have a good season this year. I do expect him to win a couple races, hopefully, maybe be a title contender, and hopefully he can contend with Ross Chastain for the championship this year.
That'd be great. Now, on to your picks, young man.
Alrighty, so since you took one of my picks, thank you. Anyways, so my lock for this weekend, I'm going to go with last year's winner, Michael Annett. Now, I will say that this was a consistent win for him, but then you go back to the summer race in July, it looked as if he was in the top 10, could have had maybe a top 10, top 5 finish if he hadn't got it in that big wreck, whatever, but I would probably say that, out of all the Xfinity guys that are racing this weekend, I think he's going to be a one to watch. Now, he has won a Daytona before in an ARCA car, and he did win the Xfinity race last year. So pretty much I'm going to go with Annett. Hopefully he can make it back-to-back wins in the one car this year. So my sleeper, I'm going to go with one of the rookies this year. So I'm going to go with Harrison Burton in the 20 car. Now, this is going to be his first his first full-time year for Joe Gibbs Racing. Now, he did run a couple races for Joe Gibbs last year, did pretty good. In all of his races, I think one of them he finished in the top 5. So I want to say with him, I could probably see him maybe getting a win this year. If not, I could probably see him maybe pointing his way into the playoffs consistently. And like I said, with Joe Gibbs Racing, I will say that 3 of their guys are going to be locked and loaded this year. I expect Brendan Jones to win a couple races. I expect Harrison Burton to win a race or 2. And then I expect, Riley Herbst to win a race, maybe run consistent as well. But yet again, I want to see how Burton does in the 20 car this weekend.
You're giving a lot of these guys ups, thinking, all these guys are going to come away with wins. And I am going to agree with you for one reason and one reason alone, is because the Xfinity Big Two that have dominated this series for the last 2 years have moved on to Cup competition, that being Cole Custer and Christopher Bell.
Yeah.
You've opened that field up. Just last year, you now opened 15 opportunities for someone to win. I think you're right. I think you're going to see a larger crop of winners. I think it's going to be exciting. It's going to be competitive. And this could very well be the best year Xfinity has seen in a long time.
And let's just hope, we can definitely find a big 3 for the Xfinity Series in 2020, more like what we saw a year ago.
Now, Chastain is declared himself eligible for the championship in Xfinity, right?
Just for Xfinity, yes.
Off top of your head, name one other driver you can see joining him just off top of your head in the championship 4. We already know Chastain's going to be in the championship 4. We can
All right.
almost bank on it.
Only one, right?
Only one.
All right. I'm going to pick a little name out of the hat, so I'm going to go with Austin Cindric.
Okay. I was going to go with Allgaier. Again, he's a guy that crept up last year. I didn't think too much of him in the early stages of the season, but as the season progressed, we said his name more and more. He was creeping. He got the win. He moves along. He ends up in the championship 4. You know, he's a guy to watch.
Yep.
All right. So the granddaddy of them all. I believe it is the 62nd running of this race. I believe that's correct. 1948.
Yep. 62nd running.
Wow. Wait a minute. No, I'm doing my math wrong then. So that would be 70. So it's 59. I don't know. 62nd running of the Daytona 500, the granddaddy of them all, getting me out of my little comfort bubble here in Norwich, Connecticut, to get me to drive to Peabody, Massachusetts, to hang out at the Italian restaurant known as Casa dei Corey, the Huffnagel Mansion. Corey, when, where, how, and why?
All right, so Sunday, it's the Super Bowl stock car racing. You have the 62nd running of the Daytona 500, 2:30 Eastern Time on Fox, and I will say this sadly enough, that this is going to be the year without Darrell Waltrip in the booth. And I will say this, when I was watching the Busch Clash on Sunday, I thought to myself, man, and honestly, like, pardon my French on this, but it literally sucked without having Darrell in the booth. It really did, and I mean, I don't really mind, having a two-man booth. I thought, okay, these guys, a two-man booth is fine, but, I'm hoping, they can get maybe a three-man booth sometime next year or two, but yeah, I'm definitely gonna miss, boogity 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 every Sunday on Fox.
Well, don't think for 1 second that people around the country and around the world, when that green flag drops, that you aren't going to have millions of people on their couches, on their easy chairs, in the stands, wherever you're watching this race, that aren't going to be screaming boogity boogity boogity, let's go racing, boys. You know it's going to happen. The thing I liked best about Darrell in that booth was, one, he was one of us. He was just a regular Joe who happened to make it in the racing business, winning 3 championships and a ton of races. But he also came from that driver's perspective a little differently than a Jeff Gordon or Larry McReynolds or those that came before or after him, in that he made words up and you understood them. Coopetition. Right. Does anybody remember that word? That's what you call coopetition. And they look at him and they're like, what in the heck does coopetition mean? Here's what coopetition means. You're out there with your buddy. He's your teammate. You're going to get nose to nose. You're going to get nose to tail. And you're going to work your way around that racetrack. But when it comes time, cooperation becomes competition, because you want to get out and you want to win that race too. Coopetition. And exactly. You sit at your house and go, well, damn, he was 1,000% right. He brought a different perspective. And I love listening to Darrell, talk about, back me and Dale or me and Rusty or me and this guy or me and this guy. And he took you back to a time that you may not have known because some of you weren't alive.
Right, but exactly.
He also made it like, if you watch here with Jeff Gordon and Jimmy Johnson, and that takes me back to when I was teammates with so-and-so and whatever. It was fun. He was always fun.
Yeah.
So why don't you give us the list? I'm sure it's all the usual suspects. However, as we mentioned before, we have some guys graduating to the top level that are going to be running this race. Now, keep in mind, he's going to be reading the entry list, all the guys that are going into qualifying. Not every one of these cars is going to make the race.
Okay, so let me pop this up. Let me pop this up again for you. So I'm going to read the entry list from the lineup for the dual races on Thursday. So basically, you got Ricky Stenhouse Jr., you got Chase Elliott, you got Denny Hamlin, you have Eric Almirola, Christopher Bell, Joey Logano, Clint Boyer, Ryan Newman, Ryan Preece, Chris Buescher, Martin Truex Jr., Brad Keselowski, John Hunter Nemechek, Ryan Blaney, Austin Dillon, Justin Haley, Bubba Wallace. Let's see. Joey Gase is one of them. Quinn Houff is one of them. Let's see. Alex Bowman, Jimmy Johnson, Kyle Busch, William Byron, Erik Jones, Kevin Harvick, Cole Custer, Matt DiBenedetto, Tyler Reddick, Kyle Larson, Kurt Busch, Michael McDowell, David Reagan, Ross Chastain, Ty Dillon, Brendan Gaughan, Timmy Hill, Corey LaJoie, Brendan Poole, and BJ McLeod.
All right. So, the picks we are about to make, chances are all three of Corey's and all three of mine are going to be guys that are already in the race based on speed. These are guys that are going to find out where they start Sunday based on how they finish tomorrow night starting at 7:30 on FS1.
Right.
So, Corey, it's your lead, your lock, your sleeper, and, of course, for the Cup Series, your hopeful.
All right. So, before I do that, little quick question for you.
Sure.
So, how many drivers have won the Daytona 500 from the pole?
If I had to guess, none.
None?
That's my guess. Wow. I can only
9.
see 5 of your fingers. Okay, 9.
Yeah.
Bring them in closer. We had a small little screen going on. Not that kind of closer. Closer together.
Oh,
there you go. Now I see all 9. Very good.
Yep.
For all of you on audio only, you have to understand what I'm working with here. I apologize.
Yes, I am a goofball sometimes, but yeah. So to answer your question, it was 9 drivers that have won the Daytona 500 from the pole. Now, second question: who was the last driver to win the Daytona 500 from the pole?
Well, since I guessed 0, I'm going to have to really reach down deep into my bowels and pull this one out of the crack. Jimmy Johnson.
Oh, you cannot be any more wrong.
Well, I was wrong the first time.
All right. So the last driver that won the Daytona 500 from the pole, you'd have to go back to 20 years ago when it was won by Dale Jarrett.
No kidding. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And apparently from what I'm saying, that I guess the 2000 Daytona 500 was probably the worst Daytona 500 of all time.
Yeah, pretty close. Ain't gonna lie.
Yeah, there actually is a video on YouTube of that. And I thought to myself, yeah, I could agree to that, because I thought, the racing that year, kind of sucked, before, NASCAR made some rule changes with the restrictor plates and whatnot to make the cars a lot more closer. So, I mean, hey, that's what happened in October 2000 when Dale Earnhardt, won from like 26 to take the lead with like 2 laps to go. So,
And now this is my question to you before you do your picks.
All right.
Who won the Winston? It was still the Winston Cup. Who won the Winston Cup in 2000?
Bobby Labonte.
Bobby Labonte, Hall of Famer. That's correct.
Yep.
Awesome. Okay, so now we move on. I need your lock, your sleeper, and your hopeful.
All right, real quick. So my lock, I am going to go with Martin Truex Jr. I really think this is his chance to win the Daytona 500 this year. Let's see. My sleeper, I am going to go with the guy who won the race in July, which is none other than Justin Haley, who is going to be making his Daytona 500 debut with Colleague Racing. So I will say this, with Daytona, you just never know what's going to happen. But I think Justin Haley, could be there at the end. He could probably pull off a Trevor Bayne that won the 500 in 2011. And let's see. My hopeful for this race, I am going to go with Ricky Stenhouse Jr., the pole sitter. Now, this is a new team that he's going to be racing with for JTG Doherty Racing. Now, we all know that he does good on the super speedways and whatnot, but if he has a good car, if he has the right drafting help, if he has the good teammates or whatever it is, or I should say, manufacturer teammates, I think, he could have a shot to win, no doubt about it. But like I said, guys, it's Daytona. You just never know what to expect. Same as Talladega as well.
Right, and especially with, and we say these 3 words every year, and if you're a race fan, you are familiar with these 3 words. The big one is always looming. You never know when it's going to hit, and when it does hit, is it going to take out 6 cars or 15 cars? We don't know. And if the 18 gets next to the 22, are we going to see a repeat of this past Sunday? Hopefully not. Hopefully their heads are clear and they're going to do the right thing. So my lock is a past champion. And yes, it's the first week of the season. I'm going with the homer pick. I'm picking Kevin Harvick. His car looked good running in a pack. Never did get to see what that number 4 Busch Light Ford could do with clean air because he never really got to the front. I think he was playing strategy, and unfortunately, strategy killed him in the wake of all these wrecks.
Right.
My sleeper, I look back at the notes from last year, and I try to take the winner of the then the Bud Shootout, the Gatorade Shootout, the Depends Diaper Shootout, whatever they called it for the last 80 years. The winner of the Busch Clash this year, I'm taking Erik Jones as my sleeper. His car looked really good while it was running in a pack. He was top 10, top 5 most of that race. He knew how to keep it up front. Sometimes he dropped back and I think he was just to see if he could get back to the front. So keep your eye on Erik Jones. My hopeful, come on, guys. This isn't your first rodeo. If you're watching for the first time, you know that it's the heterosexual man love for Matt DiBenedetto that is going to make him my hopeful. And I'm making a promise that if Matt DiBenedetto wins a race in the first 10 races, I'm going to buy a shirt and a hat for Guido. Not just for me, but for Loki, because he is now taking the 21 banner on. If Matt DiBenedetto has an average finish of 15 or better in the first 10 races, I'm just going to buy Loki a shirt.
What happens if he wins on Sunday?
Then you get the gimmick that says champion on it.
Okay.
Come on, pal. He's a champion.
Fair enough. And like I said, if Matt DiBenedetto wins the 500, that'll be the 100th win for the Wood Brothers. So that would definitely be a storybook statement.
Think about this. You want to talk about storybook. If Guido wins that race on Sunday, not only is it the 100th win for the Wood Brothers, you're talking about a guy first win in his first race in the new ride. You're talking about automatic ticket punch to the playoffs.
Yep.
And it's basically the long middle finger to Levine Family Racing. You let the wrong guy go.
Exactly. Yep.
He led the most laps last year at Daytona. Now he's coming back, new team, more funds, more passion. I've watched all his videos from Speedweeks that he's put on his Twitter, he's put on his Instagram, and he is so excited, he is so hungry, and he wants it. Speaking of hungry, Matt DiBenedetto this weekend reminded me of the XFL guys, and let's not get too deep into the weeds here, but
no.
I watched those XFL games, and Eddie said it best last night on the show. They looked hungry, and that's what I see in DiBenedetto from Speedweeks. He wants this in the worst way. I'm sure they all do. But for Matt, there's a little extra something under that hood that is saying, I'm for real. You guys slept on me for a long damn time. Now I'm going to show it to you.
Right.
So now, my question for you before we all watch the duels tomorrow, guys, enjoy the racing. Duels tomorrow, Truck Series Friday, Xfinity Saturday, and of course the Daytona 500 on Sunday. Corey and I will be doing maybe an hour or so pre-race and post-race at the Italian restaurant Casa del Corey, Huffnagel Mansion there in Peabody, with some special guests that are going to be at the racing party.
Right.
My question for you is going to be this. It seems like every couple of years, and you brought up Trevor Bayne, there is somebody who comes out of nowhere. Justin Haley in the summertime, Derek Cope some years ago, Sterling Marlin with his first Daytona win, which was completely out of nowhere, and then he does it again the next year. Forget everybody who's ever won this race before. In your opinion, who is going to be that one guy that is, and you can't pick Truex because...
No, because he's won before.
He hasn't won Daytona 500 before.
No.
But he's a past champion, multiple race winner, et cetera, so forth. Who is the one guy you think could come out of the weeds and make this not only their first Cup Series win, but will surprise the entire field?
Oh boy. Okay, so if I had to pick one right now, I would have to go with Christopher Bell.
Okay, good solid pick. I'm still sticking with DiBenedetto on this. You know, but when it's all said and done, guys, enjoy. Watch the racing. Be sure, if you want to buy some classy new gear like I did, go to LokiandJabroni.com. Click on our affiliate links. Amazon has some of the best NASCAR gear you can find outside of the NASCAR Superstore. And on top of that, if you have Amazon Prime, free 2-day shipping. That's how my stuff got here so quick.
Oh, yeah.
Anything you want to pimp, plug, or otherwise push upon the people?
All right, so make sure you guys follow us on the C&J Speedway review. You guys can follow us on Facebook. We will send you notifications on when we go live or or better yet, I'll send, results, news, standings, whatnot, which will be starting this weekend. Let's see. Twitter, we are at CJ_Speedway. Instagram, we are at CJ Speedway. And yes, guys, of course, I am having a Daytona 500 party at my house on Sunday, 12:30 Eastern time. But of course, it'll be at 1 because, Chris will be showing up at 1. So that's when the real fun starts. And I will
Give or
say
take,
this.
I may be there at 12:30. You don't know.
Yeah. 12:30, 1 o'clock, depending on what time. And yes, guys, we will have a 1-hour pre-race show and 1-hour post-race show. We will have some special guests. I don't know how many are going to be coming on to the show, depending on timing and stuff.
Well, and if they give me the money, I already gave them their prices. Want to be on the show? $50 a head.
Right. Yeah. So basically, we don't know how many people are going to be on the show, but make sure you guys tune in on the C&J Speedway Facebook page on Sunday, or better yet, we may try out the Instagram page as well. So either way, we got to upstart this really good this year too. So I'm really excited. I'm mostly excited that Chris is coming up to watch the race. He's never been to my house before, but funny enough, he's been to my town, to the famous Bunghole Liquors, it's kind of funny because it's only about 3 minutes away from my house. So, you could literally throw a rock from my house and it's right there. So no doubt about it.
What you're saying is if there's when the track came up some years ago and there's a red flag for an hour and 10 minutes, I could run to the Bunghole and back twice.
Well, basically, it is a 3 to 5 minute drive from my house.
Done and done. A challenge accepted. Before we close out, I just want to say check out all the shows here on the Focus Digital Network, not only just C&J Speedway Review, but check out the Loki and Jabroni Show. We broke down week 1 of the XFL last night. It is available on YouTube and on audio-only formats. And, of course, producer Eddie Focus and my cohort and partner in crime, Loki, have the Basement Quest. If you are a tabletop gamer, role-playing, video games, it doesn't matter. These guys go above and beyond to bring you the best in the gaming world. I admittedly know very little about most of the things they talk about, but I listen every week. I gave them a 5-star review because they earned it. I'm not going to lie just because they're my friends. I'm going to give them the straight poop. And I did. I said, and it says right in my review, I don't know half the stuff you're talking about, but I learned something new every time. So please give them a listen and be honest. But if you want me not to pick on you, give them a 5-star review just because I asked you to.
And also, don't forget, guys, Friday is Valentine's Day, so I got to ask this question. Chris, what's your Valentine's Day plans on Friday?
I don't do anything for Valentine's Day ever. And, with the things that are going on here that you haven't been privy to, I've never, I think twice in my entire life I've done Valentine's Day. I don't believe in it. I don't buy it. I think it's garbage. It's, no, I can't. Nope.
Well, unfortunately.
Wait, it's a Friday night, right?
Yes.
Okay. My plans for Valentine's Day is to probably rent a movie on Amazon and enjoy myself.
Well, unfortunately for me, guys, I actually have the truck race DVR on Friday night. I'm going to be on a Valentine's Day date with Taziki Sauce herself. So I will say this, so make sure nobody does not give me spoilers of what goes on during the race, because
I'm texting you every 3 minutes just because you're playing the Valentine's Day gimmick. Let's go out and chocolates and a nice dinner and F that. You're getting lap by lap updates.
Well, not if my phone's on Do Not Disturb.
Well, I still have Chelsea's number too, so you might want to watch out.
Yeah, I mean, I will say this, I pretty much check to see who wins the race anyway, and then just watch it because, hey, let's just say, guys, I do my homework, and so I can pretty much give you guys the stats of the show on Wednesday, because that's why they call me the stat guy myself. But yeah, I'm gonna have to suck that up, and I mean, it'll be fun, Friday night, and then Saturday I'll probably just Saturday I'll be able to watch the Xfinity race and the truck race. So got a lot of homework to do Saturday, and not only that, on Sunday as well. So, but I'm really looking forward to the racing this weekend, but I'm really looking forward to the season. I think this is going to be a fun year, like I said before, and I think this is going to be the most interesting year that no one's ever expected.
Absolutely. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at cburns19. If you don't know how to spell my last name, look it up. It's not hard. You've got the Google machine. It's right at the top of every episode. Look me up. I do follow for all the fans of all the podcasts. So if you tell me you found me because of the podcast, I go follow for follow. Thank you for that. All your help is appreciated. And Corey, I'm going to give you a pass this week.
Okay.
Because next week I want you to learn a new language and say goodnight to the folks. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching or listening to the C&J Speedway review this week. We'll be back with you live on the Facebook page, pre-race, post-race, and then next Wednesday breaking down Daytona and then moving on as the 2020 season moves on. So for Corey, for Producer Ready Focus, my name is Chris, and boogity, 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 racing is back.
Amen.